Welcome to the greatest symbol of the Roman Empire. Here, peak engineering served not life but death and brutal entertainment for the masses of ancient Rome. In the year 80 AD, Emperor Titus inaugurated this arena with 100 days of games. 9,000 beasts and thousands of men perished on these sands. Standing 188 meters long, it was larger than any stadium today. It was a mountain of stone built to facilitate the ultimate spectacle. Deep in the tunnels, men stood in the shadows. For many, this was the final moment of peace before stepping out into the blinding light of judgment. This was not a performance. This was the raw reality of 400 years of bloody history, where every heartbeat could be your very last one. 50,000 voices roared like a tidal wave. But to understand this masterpiece, we must look beyond the blood, to a story that began in Jerusalem. After destroying Jerusalem, General Titus brought over 100,000 slaves to Rome. These very people were forced to build the arena where many would die. Completed in just 10 years, it was a miracle of ancient construction. They used 100,000 cubic meters of travertine stone to reach the sky. 300 tons of iron clamps held the massive blocks together. Every piece was transported from 30 kilometers away by sheer human and animal power. The secret lay in Roman concrete. Using volcanic ash, they created a material that grew stronger over centuries, allowing for the arena's incredible height and weight. Engineers used heavy stone for the foundations and lighter concrete for the upper tiers. This precise load distribution was a feat of ancient mathematical genius. The 80 arched entrances, known as vomitoria, allowed 50,000 people to exit in 15 minutes. It was the birth of modern crowd management techniques, but the true mechanical heartbeat below the sand. Beneath the cheers lay the hypogeum, a dark, sprawling maze of tunnels designed for absolute terror. Added by Emperor Domitian, this subterranean world housed hundreds of gladiators and thousands of wild animals, all waiting for their turn to face the sun. 28 mechanical elevators operated by manpower could lift heavy cages. It required 8 men pulling in unison to raise a single hungry predator to the surface. The precision was lethal. While the audience waited in anticipation, the slaves below worked in near darkness to launch the next surprise onto the floor. To the spectators, it looked like magic. A leopard or bear would suddenly appear from the earth, turning the arena into a living nightmare in seconds. This was the industrialization of slaughter. Every gear and rope was calculated to maximize the drama and the carnage for the entertainment of Rome. But before the hypogeum existed, the Romans did something even more impossible. They mastered the element of water to transform the entire arena floor. By connecting the stadium to Rome's vast aqueducts, they could flood the floor in hours. The dry sand was replaced by a massive artificial lake. They staged Naumachia epic sea battles. Full-sized ships fought in the water, recreating historic naval victories while thousands watched from the safety of their seats. There was no acting here. Warriors fell into the crimson-stained water, their deaths serving as a grand operatic spectacle for the amusement of the Roman public. When the battle ended, millions of liters of water were drained through a sophisticated sewer system. By the next day, the arena was ready for blood. Now, focus on the men who fought. Gladiators were more than victims. They were the first superstars of history, living on the edge of extinction. Each fighter was a specific class. The Murmillo was a heavy tank, protected by bronze and steel, designed to outlast any opponent in a direct clash. In contrast, the Retiarius used only a net and trident. This asymmetrical design ensured every fight was a strategic puzzle for the audience to enjoy. Many were slaves, but some were free men seeking fame and fortune. A successful gladiator could earn enough to buy his freedom and a legacy. Their names were carved on walls across the empire. They were the idols of a society that worshipped strength and had no mercy for the weak. The final judgment rested with the emperor. A simple gesture could grant life or demand a final, fatal blow to end the warrior's journey forever. Surprisingly, 90% of matches didn't end in death. Gladiators were expensive investments, trained and cared for by elite doctors to fight another day. Death was the ultimate seasoning, not the main course. The Romans wanted to see skill, courage, and the desperate will to survive against all odds. Eventually, the empire fell and the cheering stopped. The Colosseum began its long transformation from an arena of death to a silent monument of history. By the 5th century, it was abandoned. It served as a fortress, a housing complex, and eventually a stone quarry for the popes of Rome. The holes you see today were made by looters digging for the iron clamps. 2/3 of the original structure was stripped away to build new palaces. Only 1/3 of the original material remains today, yet that fragment is enough to overwhelm anyone who stands before its massive, scarred outer walls. Today, millions visit from across the globe. They walk the same paths as the slaves who built it and the prisoners who died within its walls, and it remains a witness to the paradox of humanity. Our ability to build something so beautiful for a purpose so dark and undeniably cruel. The stones may be broken, but the soul of the arena persists. It reminds us of Rome's grandeur and the terrible price paid for its glory. It stands not just as a reminder of the past, but as a question for the future. What are we willing to build for our entertainment? Nature slowly reclaims what was once a site of slaughter. The silence now is as loud as the roars that once filled this hallowed space. We look into the dark tunnels and see the genius of engineers who designed the most complex killing machine of the ancient world. The echoes of the fallen still linger here. Every stone carries the weight of a life lost for the fleeting thrill of a screaming mob. It is both a masterpiece and a monument to tragedy. It defines the Roman spirit, ambitious, ruthless, and ultimately vulnerable to the passage of time. At each level tells a story of social hierarchy, from the senators at the bottom to the commoners and women at the very top. The sun rises and sets over this arena just as it did 2,000 years ago. But the world it watches over has changed forever. To the Romans, this was the center of the universe. To us, it is a haunting reminder of how empires can rise and crumble into dust. Rain washes the dust of centuries away, but it can never wash away the history of what happened on this very ground. Names and dates carved into the rock remind us that these were real people, with real fears and real hopes, trapped in a violent era. Time is the only gladiator that never loses. It has fought the Colosseum for 2 millennia, leaving behind this majestic, broken skeleton of history. Where men once fought for their lives, birds now fly in peace. The violence has been replaced by the quiet dignity of a ruin. We stand where they stood, feeling the same scale of the architecture, but we struggle to understand the cruelty that once thrived here. It was the heart of a city that ruled the known world. The Colosseum was the stage where Roman power was displayed for all to see. Every seat tells a story of excitement and fear. The stone remembers the weight of a civilization that was obsessed with the spectacle of death. As day turns to night, the arena looks as it might have after a long day of games, silent, imposing, and stained with the memory of blood. The sand of the arena has long since been replaced, but the history of the struggle remains etched in the very air of Rome. Rome is the eternal city, and the Colosseum is its eternal anchor. It is a bridge between who we were and who we have become. Freedom was the ultimate prize. The wooden sword represented a life returned to its owner, a rare escape from the cycle of violence. In later centuries, it became a sacred site, and as a place of prayer to honor those who stood for their faith in the face of lions. Walking these halls, you can almost hear the phantom echoes of the thousands of feet rushing to find their place in the stands. Modern engineers still study these walls to understand how such a massive structure was built so quickly and lasted so incredibly long. The geometry of the Colosseum is perfect. It was designed to focus every single eye in the building on the center of the action. To touch these stones is to touch the hands of the slaves, the sweat of the builders, and the spirit of an entire empire. The arena stands under the same stars that witnessed the first battles. The universe remains indifferent, while the Colosseum keeps its silent vigil. We remember because we must. To forget the history of this place is to forget the lessons of power and its inevitable consequences. The cold mist of morning gives the ruins a ghostly appearance, as if the past is trying to push its way back into the present. It is a giant in a world of glass and steel. It refuses to be forgotten, even as the world around it moves at a frantic pace. Men from across the known world, Africa, Gaul, Germania, all met here, united by the common language of steel and the fight for breath. The engineering was a miracle, but the cost was a tragedy. This is the eternal tension of the Colosseum, a beauty built on pain. Looking down into the bowels of the building, we see the skeletal remains of a vision that was as grand as it was terrifying. As long as the Colosseum stands, Rome shall stand. And when the Colosseum falls, Rome shall fall. And with Rome, the world. The footprints of the warriors are gone, but their legacy is written in the stone and in the very DNA of our global culture. Every shadow in this building holds a secret. Every light reveals a genius that we are still trying to fully grasp 2,000 years later. It is the ultimate witness. That's a testament to our ability to reach for the stars while grounded in the most primal of human instincts. The arena remains a question each generation must answer. It is Vesta, cruel and immortal. It is the reflection of ourselves in the mirror of history. The games are over, but the echo of the Colosseum will ring out forever. Thank you for exploring the vault of the ancient world with us.